So I want to share with you a garden design that I have in my front yard, and it's something that's pretty important to me, and that is just like a place for the birds to shelter and just making sure that I have a place to really feed the birds well. So this garden, I call it my lantern garden, but basically it's shaped like an oval. And on one side of it, I have this blue spruce, which started out as about like a 1 foot tall blue spruce. But now, of course, it's like much more mature sized. And then on the side of it, I have 2 knockout roses. And then on the front side of this are arborvitaes, which are like the thujas. And they get about 5 or 6 feet tall, the variety I have planted. And then also I have a couple more knockout roses. So I really like the knockout roses for the birds because they're dense, but the branches aren't too big. So there's like a lot of branches, and they just seem like they're really good cover for the birds. So on the other side near my driveway, I have peonies and some like flowers like bee balm and penstemon, and that's kind of a smaller area. But here you can see I've kind of tucked in a suet feeder into the branches here. And this tree and this whole area, I'm kind of going to get down on the ground and show you, but since this is like an oval garden, the center of this is open. And at this point, we have snow, but like there's no snow in the center of this garden. So it's a great shelter for the birds, and that's exactly what I wanted. Other wildlife comes in here as well, but mostly it's birds. So we get some squirrels, and then we get foxes and probably raccoons and different things. But it's just like a great garden design that has worked out really well, because about 10 feet away from this, right in front of my kitchen window, is where I have like the big bird feeders set up. So the birds can kind of hop back and forth between this area, which is covered and protected, and then they can pop over to these feeders. And especially because we're kind of in the middle of a series of storms, so I'm trying to make sure, make as a priority that these birds have a lot of food, and that also that they have suet. And then I'm going to make some homemade suet as well and put this in these different areas, because the birds are kind of hopping around in these different spots, and I just want to make sure that they are well taken care of during the storms. I really worry about the birds if I don't have I want to make sure all the feeders are full. And I did go buy like a larger feeder, and I will show you that too, and just to make sure there's plenty of seed out there, because in a storm situation like this, I'm filling the feeders usually once a day, so they're going through quite a bit of seed. So I'm imagining there's like a whole lot of different birds coming through, because they're just like all over I have a lot of big trees in my yard, and there's just like birds all over the trees, and it just seems like they take turns coming in here to the feeders. But I just want to make sure that the birds are getting enough feed. And I also feel like some of my neighbors are really heavily feeding the birds as well. I think that's why we have so many birds, but I just love it. I love being able to see them all, and just making sure that they're not having difficulty during these storms, especially like we're having ice storms. That I think that can be even a lot more serious. So we're in the different phases of these storms, we're getting a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow. So that can be pretty serious as far as birds not being able to move around. But since they have this area that's sheltered, then they do a lot better here because they're not in deep snow. So here's my backyard, and this is a feeding area that I set up, maybe a week ago. And I have feeders right in front of my picture window. And then I added this area, which is like a little stick pile. And I just wanted to let you know that it has been really successful as far as bringing the birds in. So they're a lot happier if I close the windows and they can't see me, like on the other side of this picture window. But they're getting used to seeing me. So Like here I have what I would call the brave birds are coming in. Because it's funny, the birds, they don't, they feel nervous when I'm there, but they really feel nervous if I bring out a camera and start filming them. I don't know how they know what's going on, but they seem to get a lot more nervous when they're getting filmed. So anyway, these are like the brave birds, I would call them. But if I close the curtains, I will have, I'm going to say, a dozen birds in here feeding and in that stick pile. So that stick pile has really helped to kind of bring all the birds in and just make them feel more comfortable. So my goal here in this backyard area was to be able to see the birds like up close and personal so that I could start sketching them and also kind of cataloging like which birds are coming into my yard, because we have not only these birds, but I'm seeing a lot of really unusual ones. So I want to make sure that I look them up and kind of catalog what is coming through my yard. And then also we also have birds of prey that come by, and I want to make sure that I'm cataloging those as well, because I really love seeing those raptors, even though I know that's not really safe for these little birds, but I do love seeing them. Get some peregrine falcons and different hawks, and then we've also had a bald eagle come through, and I would just love to see the bald eagle land somewhere. So it was kind of flying really low and slow over my house, and like I said, I would love to see that just kind of perch. One day I would love to be able to photograph that, or then sketch that as well. That would be such a wonderful thing, so I'm really hoping for that. But in the meantime, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping on top of what birds are in the yard. And I put black oil sunflower seeds in the feeders almost always. So sometimes I will use just like different types of bird food just to bring in different birds. But typically that's what I'm using. And then of course I also have suet. And I'm using, I like to use suet that has peanuts in it or berries. I kind of change it up. Then I'm also doing a homemade suet. That'll be in a separate video, like a suet style. So, but that has been really successful bringing the birds in. So you can see I'm back in the front yard again, and just the different things that I've put out, having a lot of bird activity. So I'm really happy about that, since we're in the middle of a super cold, we're getting down to 1 degree at night, or 5 or 6 degrees at night. It's just been so cold. I don't remember anything like this that lasted more than a few days, and this has been lasting weeks on end. So I'm just really focusing on taking care of the birds, making sure that they're fed, making sure that they have cover, and that I'm keeping an eye on it. In one of these videos, I noticed something was walking by, and I think it was actually the fox, and I didn't even notice it was walking by, but I can kind of see its silhouette walking by the back of this garden while I'm filming. But anyhow, these birds are definitely using all of these different feeders that I have out and all the different suet, so really excited about that. And also, if I'm like cutting up apples, we tend to eat apples a lot and different things, but I will put the scraps, especially from apples, I will put them in this little protected area, and the birds really seem to like that as well. Now on the left side, I have an apple tree, which was supposed to be a dwarf, like 5 feet tall, and honestly, it's bigger than my house at this point, like taller than my house. So, but the birds can perch in that as well, but they much prefer this real protected garden area. So I will let you know how this all works out, since I'm adding different feeders and trying different things, just to make sure that the birds are really well taken care of during these storms. So I hope that you are safe, and because I know most of the country is going through these storms as well, and thank you so much for watching and sharing this different type of time with me. Thank you so much.